Hey folks, Chris Martin here, and today I bring to you Brandon Fogel, who's the tournament director of WeaselMoot, where the World Diplomacy Championships were held last year. This year, they're doing something a little bit smaller, a little more modest, and Brandon is here to tell you all about it. Let's go ahead and bring in Brandon. Hey Brandon, thanks for joining me here to talk about WeaselMoot.
My pleasure. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to do a little last-minute advertising.
Oh, no worries. I'm really sorry to be missing it this year. I'm traveling a lot, and I've even played diplomacy in the site where you are hosting the games this year.
That's right.
So I can say that it's a great place to play. So why don't you tell everybody who's watching a little bit about the event, when it is, and the location, and how it's going to be structured.
Great. So WeaselMoot is our local Chicago club's major tournament. It's held once a year, every year for the last. This will be the 11th consecutive year.
Nice.
So WeaselMoot 11. Twice it's been the site of the World Championship, including last year. But this year it's just an ordinary little club tournament, and we're excited about it. So for the first time, we're having the event in a bowling alley. And it may be the first ever diplomacy tournament held in a bowling alley.
The best tournament ever held in a bowling alley, I'm going to say. The best diplomacy tournament, anyway.
Good for that. Why are we having it there? Well,
Yeah.
it's a really nice space. We've got an entire restaurant bar all to ourselves for the whole weekend. And, for the people who get knocked out early, they can head over to the lanes and knock down some pins to work out some frustration.
Absolutely.
But,
And, having a bar in the room that also serves food isn't going to hurt anybody's good time at all, I don't imagine.
Yeah, that was part of the attraction for us. And the space is nice and open. We've got booths all around. We have a large projector TV that the time will be projected onto. So it'll be nice and visible for everybody to see.
Okay. So you guys are going to go with Central Clock again, just like last year at Worlds? It's just the way
Absolutely.
you guys roll?
Yep, Central Clock. We like that. I love that as a tournament director. We did that
Sure.
at PodCon last year, which was my first TV experience. Loved having all the tables on the same time frame. Made it easy for me to keep track of how the games were going and go take board pictures, which I was able to post later.
Right.
And it kept things moving along as well. Nobody could play games with the timing or with getting their orders in.
Sure.
So really like the uniformity there.
Do you ever find that more than one board has a problem at the same time and requires the tournament director to be in two places at the same time, or do you just have a deputy who helps you with that?
So at PodCon, when that happened, I didn't have that problem. I was able to. There were no boards there was no case where multiple boards needed me at the same time.
Okay.
I think there was one case where it was almost the same, but I was able to handle both. This time it depends on how many boards we get. We're looking like we're going to have between 2 and 4 boards per round.
Okay, that's a bit of a swing.
If we end up with 3 and 4 boards in a given round, then that could be an issue, and then I will potentially deputize somebody to handle problems for me.
Okay.
It is a bit of a swing. We're still collecting round commitments. We're doing something a little unusual for a tournament this size. We're going to have 4 rounds rather than 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
how's that working out? Is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or
no?
Friday, Saturday?
Friday evening, 1, Saturday 2, in the morning and an evening, and then a shorter timed round Sunday morning. The top 3 scores will count, so there will be a drop round.
Okay.
This was a bit of an experimental decision on my part. Maybe a more experienced tournament director, makes the choice between either a Friday round and 1 Saturday round or 2 Saturday rounds.
Yeah.
I decided that I liked having both, and we'll see how it works out with the round commitments. If I end up with a round with 1 board, well then I know that I've made the wrong decision.
Sure, and that's how you learn, right? I know that Carnage, which is DipCon this year, is Friday, Saturday, no round on Sunday, which is the way that they roll. So people can get back home because Monday isn't really a holiday for them. It's a decision that you make.
So we've got, ultimately the reason why I did it was because I talked to some travelers who actually liked the idea of playing 4 rounds if they were going to travel for a tournament.
Okay.
Get as much diplomacy in as possible. The tournament site is located very convenient to the airport, O'Hare, so getting away Sunday evening will be very easy.
Okay.
And I thought maybe we'd pick up some locals as well who, want to play 3 rounds, but don't want to play 2 in one day. So,
understandable.
So you can skip, so because there's a drop round, you can skip around and, still be in contention for prizes.
Okay.
So we've got the 4 rounds, top 3 scores count. We're doing sum of squares scoring.
Mm-hmm.
As I've told you before, we like that for the local hobby, in particular, we like the sort of play that it encourages, which is, good alliance play early on, and then a lot of incentive to break up alliances in the mid-game.
Absolutely. Do you think that that's going to affect play on Sunday when there's going to be a hard stop that players know about? I know in your bar games, you have a definite hard stop, no turns will start after a certain hour, and players, they really bring out the knives, and all alliances are pretty much off the table at that point. But that doesn't always work so well when you don't have a definite stopping point in play. So do you think that the locals are going to have an advantage on Sunday, or do you think that they've kind of figured out how to play that system to its natural conclusion?
It's a great question, and I don't have a good answer for it. Time will tell.
All right. Well, in our post-event wrap-up, I want you to think about that and see how it went.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay. So, do you have any travelers that you'd like to put up and have a target put on?
I love the travelers. I love the people who are willing to come here. Some for the second year in a row after Worlds, and rather than give them a reason to be mad at me, I'm going to welcome them with open arms.
All right.
I will say, though, given we do have fewer travelers than I think are normal for the tournament, about a quarter of our current registries are travelers.
Oh, okay.
And we do have a fair number of newer players new to the club this year.
Oh, great.
So for a more experienced player, there is an opportunity here to come in and be maybe a bigger shark than you're used to being.
Yeah, absolutely. Be the little guy. That's always a good thing to come into the tournament and catch him by surprise. Yeah. Do you think that the format is friendly for people who maybe play house games with some friends, or they played in college or when they were younger, and now maybe they play online, and they're thinking about, hey, I've heard so much about WeaselMoot, maybe I'll drive in and take a stab at this. Is the format, a welcoming one, do you think?
I do, actually. I do know of at least one traveler who's in that exact situation, someone who's played mostly online, and this will be his first face-to-face experience.
Awesome.
I think the environment's going to be very welcoming. It's going to be a nice social atmosphere, in the bowling alley with the bar. I think that with the format with the drop round, so having a Friday night round, where you can get your feet wet, have a night's sleep, and then come back the next day. Maybe you only want to play 1 round that day. Mm-hmm. You're welcome to. I mean, one of the things about switching to face-to-face, or even just starting up with diplomacy in the first place, is that you feel like you learn a ton every time you play.
Sure.
And if you don't get to play again very quickly after that, maybe those lessons aren't as well learned as they could be. So the tournament, I think, the tournament situation is a perfect opportunity to advance your game. The trick is keeping your emotions, under control, right? Actually learning the lessons from each game rather than just being upset about it.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. The thing that I was talking with some folks online in one of the forums about transitioning from online play, showing up at a face-to-face tournament, the people were concerned that everybody there would already know each other, and they would just get ganged up on, and they'd play 3 rounds of diplomacy, never get above 5 dots, and be dead by 1903. Now, that's not my experience, and what I told him is that, if you have 2 experienced tournament diplomacy players who know each other and have played with each other before, and a third person who is competent, presents themselves as knowing what they're doing about the game of diplomacy, those two players would rather work with you than with each other about 80% of the time. Does that sound about right?
That is, I heard the Dipcast guys talking about this
Yeah.
in the last episode as well. That is 100% true, especially of the Chicago hobby.
Right?
It's really the most that I can speak to. That guys here are itching for the chance to turn on each other. And if you provide yourself as a viable partner in that activity, they will go for it. I'd put it even higher than 80%.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, we sort of have developed a tradition now of not just welcoming newcomers, but really boosting them, in part because, like, as soon as we have a bunch of inter-club rivalries, and as soon as, like, one of us starts to see one of our buds getting the upper hand on the board, they will prop up a newcomer, especially one that's inexperienced, and that, seems like they need a little bit of help. We definitely do that.
All right. And that's a great way to build your skills as a player, too, right? Is if you're newer, having somebody who's maybe a smaller power, but giving you advice about the kinds of things you need to think about. Like, transitioning from the early game to the mid-game is one of those things that's really hard if you're new to diplomacy. And keeping track of all of the moving pieces in the mid-game to the end game is tough if you're used to having a lot of time to look at the board like an online player. And you've got, what are you going, by the time you're in 1906, it's what, 1417? Your clock for spring fall?
Oh, I think it's down to 1513 at that
1513 at that point. Yeah, that's not much time because you're reading orders on the clock, and if there's somebody who doesn't understand what's going on, that slows it down, and then you've got to understand what's going on and go. Having somebody else on board with you who can be like, yeah, don't worry about that. Like they were talking about on the Diplomacy cast, right? Eddie Brisson just sees it. He understands, right?
And plus, by that point, you've been playing for like 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
And so you're fatigued, you're a little bit overwhelmed if it's your first game ever. Yeah, like having somebody, especially somebody that's smaller than you, that at least you can keep track of whether they're in position to cause problems for you.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to go. And also, even the opposite, being in second place, just a bigger power, more experience. As long as you don't open yourself up to them too much, that's another great way to at least keep going and get a decent result. I just remember, by the way, one of our travelers is someone of note, Chris Glassburn.
Chris, awesome.
The person who just recently purchased. I know nothing about his diplomacy game, but I know that he is the one who purchased Bill Calamer's original maps. And he's offered to bring them to Chicago and put them on display.
Awesome.
So come to Chicago and see some deep diplomacy history here.
Awesome. That sounds great. Yeah. Wow, what a great event. So 4 rounds, central clock, sum of squares. If somebody was driving in, they would find you at your website, which I will put a link to right here, windycityweasels.org, I imagine.
So moot.windycityweasels.org.
Got it. Okay, I'll definitely.
We have early registration fee pricing up until the day of, and it'll go from $50 to $50 the day of. So register early. We do have some deals. We have one deal with the local hotel, a Days Inn, which is a little bit of a ways down the street.
Okay. People don't just sleep at the bowling alley. I figured people would just be like sleeping back behind where they rack the pins.
Everyone can work out their own personal accommodations.
Okay.
And if you can convince the bowling alley to let you sleep behind there, more power to you.
More power to you. Awesome.
Likely challenging for the tournament title at that point too.
Are you going to be continuing to have club games right up until the event?
Just one. We have a regular bar game next Wednesday on the 13th, I believe.
Okay.
14th. We can. If anyone's interested in that, who lives within driving distance, they can find that on our meetup page, Windy City Weasels Diplomacy Club. Okay.
Yeah, because if you're thinking about making the trip out there for the moot, and you happen to have a Wednesday night free, making a short hop up there to play one club game to get your feet wet would be a great way. And you wouldn't be a total stranger on the day of.
Yeah, fantastic way. And actually, that face-to-face or that online player that I mentioned is considering doing that.
Yeah, see, it's a good idea. I endorse it. I advocate it.
Yeah, and you'll be following in the footsteps of the great Chris Martin, who visited us for a bar game just a few months ago, and
that's right.
Came away with a big board top.
I did. I'm going to get back there again for work before too much longer. Got a lot of travel. Unfortunately, no diplomacy tournaments in Las Vegas, which is where I seem to be spending most of my travel time this year. But what are you going to do? All right, Brandon, anything else that anybody should know about the club, about the history? Oh, will you guys sing your war chant at the Moot? Is this an ongoing tradition that people could look forward to?
I don't know. Did that happen last year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's happened every year I've been there.
Then it will happen again this year.
All right, you are on record. It will happen again this year. All right, Brandon. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Good luck with the tournament. I'll check back in with you in July when it's all said and done.
Great, Chris. Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk about it.
All right, bye-bye. Well, there you go. Thank you very much, Brandon. WeaselMoot 11, June 23rd to 25th at the Diversey River Bowl in Chicago, Illinois. Just for reference, all right, over here is a little picture of some of the weasels that you will meet while you are there. And until next time, I'm Chris Martin, and I'll stab you soon.